Hey, how's it going, everybody? Mike Weber here, your local realtor, here with your real estate market update for the beginning of August 2022. So, the real estate market is continuing to cool off as a result of these higher rates in the market. It's pretty interesting because prices are still up just slightly from a year-over-year standpoint, but they have decelerated substantially and they're just barely in the positive. And a lot of properties actually aren't selling. So if you really factor in the properties that aren't selling and maybe say average those out across the ones that are selling, we probably would have negative year-over-year median prices. But of course, we're only really measuring the ones that do sell. And so at least with that said, we are still positive. However, as we're going to look at with the data, we're down substantially year over year in terms of both closed sales and pending sales across the Los Angeles County. And we're also seeing a definite uptick in inventory across the board as well, which of course is a good thing. It's still far below what we would want to see in a normal market, but definitely rising. And so that's a good thing, obviously, for buyers that have been trying to buy a home, but it's getting a little bit more difficult for sellers who are trying to sell unless they're priced correctly or they have a really nice property that's highly desirable. So let's go ahead and jump into the data. We'll look at the County of Los Angeles first as a whole, then we'll look at the South Bay beach cities and see how that compares to the county data. So first off, for Los Angeles County as a whole, as you can see, median home prices are now up just 4.4%. They've gradually been declining over the last couple months, and I've expected them to show up all of a sudden negative on a year-over-year standpoint, but at least so far that actually hasn't happened. We are still in positive territory. Now, here's where things really start to begin to look different. If we look at the supply of inventory in the County of Los Angeles, we see that we are up 8.7%. Of course, that's not a big increase compared to a year ago, especially when you consider how low the inventory actually was a year ago. So we're really still not seeing a ton of inventory sitting on the market, which is kind of interesting because what we are seeing on the market isn't really going into escrow, which tells us that even though inventory is rising, it's not really rising that much. Just out of the limited inventory that is actually on the market, a lot of it is no longer going into escrow, probably because buyers are being priced out of the market by these much higher interest rates than existed a year ago. When we take a look at closed sales in the County of Los Angeles, now we are seeing a much bigger difference compared to a year ago. We're down approximately 32% in the number of sales that are actually closing. And that is a huge drop off for being kind of in the middle of the year, around the peak selling season where we would typically expect to see pretty strong sales. And of course, now we're seeing this huge drop off, this deceleration in the number of properties that are actually closing. And then with that said, when we look at pending sales, those are down 48.2% year over year, almost 50%. So that means even less properties than are closing are even making it into escrow. So clearly properties are sitting on the market. Buyers are not writing offers on them. And, they're either being relisted, canceled, expiring off the market, etc. Moving on to the South Bay beach cities, we kind of see a pretty similar trend across the board. When we look at median home prices, they're up just 4.8%, so almost the same as what we're seeing in the county as a whole. However, they have come down much more significantly, so quite a big drop off in home price growth comparatively in the South Bay versus the County of Los Angeles. More dramatic when we look at the supply of inventory in the South Bay, we're up 31.3% year over year in the South Bay, overtaking anything we saw all of last year. So that's starting to become a meaningful shift that certainly looks quite a bit different from anything we've seen for the last 2 years, and it's continuing to rise. So I would imagine as these rates continue to stay elevated, or if they continue to rise, of course, we should expect to see more and more inventory ultimately end up on the market. And then finally, when we look at pending home sales in the South Bay Beach cities, again, we see very similar trend to Los Angeles County. We're down 51% year over year. Massive drop off in the number of properties that are going pending, that are going into escrow. A lot less activity out there, a lot less buyers actually going out and writing offers on properties. So it's definitely getting harder to sell a property. It's getting easier to buy one, assuming you can qualify and afford the higher interest rates. So overall, I mean, pretty similar to the same trends we've been seeing for the last 2 or 3 months, but they're getting stronger as time goes on. Of course, we'll be following what happens over the next couple months. I think it's going to be pretty interesting if the Fed keeps raising rates, although that probably won't happen, but you never know. If I can help you guys with anything real estate related, definitely reach out. Let me know what I can do to help. And also, I'm curious what you guys see happening in your local areas. Share some comments down below. Let me know what's going on, what you think is going to happen. If you haven't already, go ahead and click the like button, click the subscribe button, the notification bell. Really appreciate you guys watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Take care.